Olivia Martinez stared at the clock mounted on the pristine white wall of the conference room. 3 hours. She had been standing there for 3 endless hours while Nathan Blackwell tore apart her presentation in front of 6 potential investors. Her feet ached in her professional heels, and her throat was dry from answering his relentless questions. Miss Martinez, perhaps you can explain why these market projections seem so optimistic, Nathan said, his voice dripping with condescension. He did not even look at her, his eyes fixed on the documents spread before him. Olivia took a deep breath, steadying herself. Mr. Blackwell, those projections came directly from the analytics department. I compiled them according to your specifications last night. And you did not think to verify their accuracy before presenting them to our guests. His steel-gray eyes finally met hers, cold and unforgiving. She felt heat rising to her cheeks. This was the 3rd time this week he had publicly blamed her for someone else's mistakes. The investors shifted uncomfortably in their leather chairs, clearly sensing the toxic dynamic. I will get the corrected data immediately, Olivia replied, keeping her voice steady despite the humiliation burning through her chest as she left the room. She heard Nathan continue smoothly with the investors, as if nothing had happened. Jessica Torres, her closest friend at Blackwell Properties, caught her arm in the hallway. Olivia, you okay? That was brutal even for him. I am fine, Olivia lied, forcing a smile. Just another day in paradise. But she was not fine. For 2 years, she had endured Nathan's impossible demands, his explosive temper, his habit of using her as an emotional punching bag whenever deals went wrong. She had stayed because the salary was excellent, because she needed to pay off her mother's medical bills, because she kept telling herself it would get better. It never did. That evening, long after the investors had left and the office had emptied, Olivia sat at her desk staring at a blank document on her screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly. Then, with sudden determination, she began typing. Dear Mr. Blackwell, I hereby submit my resignation effective immediately. But she kept it short, professional, devoid of emotion. 2 sentences. That was all he deserved after 2 years of her loyalty and hard work. She printed the letter, signed it with a flourish, and walked straight to Nathan's office. He was still there, of course. The man practically lived in this building, his empire more important than sleep or personal relationships. He looked up from his computer screen, surprise flickering across his sharp features. Miss Martinez, I assumed you had left hours ago. I need to give you something. Olivia placed the folded letter on his mahogany desk. Nathan picked it up, his brow furrowing as he read. The silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. When he finally looked up, his expression was unreadable. No, Olivia blinked. Excuse me? I said no. Nathan opened his desk drawer, pulled out a lighter, and calmly set fire to her resignation letter. She watched in shock as the paper curled and blackened, flames consuming her carefully worded goodbye. You cannot just burn my resignation, Olivia said, her voice rising. I am quitting, Mr. Blackwell. I am done. Read your contract again, Miss Martinez. Specifically, Section 12. Her blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Nathan pulled up a document on his tablet and turned it toward her. You signed an employment agreement with a retention clause. Voluntary termination requires either 6 months' notice or payment of a penalty fee. Olivia grabbed the tablet, her eyes scanning the legal text. There it was, in black and white. A clause she had completely forgotten about, signed in desperation 2 years ago when she needed this job to survive. $50,000, she whispered, the number feeling like a physical blow. That is correct. Do you have $50,000, Miss Martinez? She did not. She barely had $500 in savings after paying her mother's latest hospital bills. The medication alone cost a fortune, and the treatments were ongoing. Nathan knew this. He knew everything about his employees, their vulnerabilities, their pressure points. You cannot force me to stay, Olivia said, but her voice lacked conviction. I am not forcing anything. I am simply enforcing the contract you willingly signed. Nathan leaned back in his chair, completely calm. See you tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock sharp. Olivia stood there, frozen between rage and helplessness. Part of her wanted to throw something at his smug face. Another part wanted to cry. Instead, she turned and walked out with as much dignity as she could muster, refusing to let him see how deeply he had trapped her that night. Olivia sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, surrounded by every page of her employment contract. Jessica had come over with wine and moral support, but neither helped much. "This is insane," Jessica said, reading over the retention clause. "How is this even legal?" "It is legal. I checked." Olivia rubbed her tired eyes. "I was so desperate for the job that I did not read the fine print. Stupid, stupid, stupid." "You are not stupid. You were in a terrible situation with your mom's illness. He took advantage of that." Olivia knew her friend was right, but it did not change her reality. She was trapped. $50,000 might as well be 50 million. There was no way she could pay it, and Nathan knew it perfectly well. "So what are you going to do?" Jessica asked gently. Olivia was quiet for a long moment, staring at the contract that had become her prison. Then something shifted inside her. If Nathan wanted to keep her trapped here, fine. But he was going to get exactly what the contract stipulated and nothing more. No more going above and beyond, no more covering for his mistakes. No more making his life easier at the expense of her own dignity. "I am going to make him regret keeping me here," Olivia said softly. Jessica raised her wine glass with a grim smile. "Now that sounds like a plan." The next morning, Olivia arrived at exactly 8 o'clock. Not a minute earlier. Gone was the woman who came in at 7 to prepare everything perfectly. Gone was the assistant who brought his specific coffee order from the expensive shop 3 blocks away. That woman had resigned. What Nathan got instead was someone who fulfilled her contractual obligations with mechanical precision and absolutely nothing extra. Nathan. Blackwell noticed the change immediately. For the first time in 2 years, Olivia Martinez walked past his office without her usual morning greeting. No warm smile, no coffee placed thoughtfully on his desk, no cheerful update about his schedule, just silence. He found himself staring at his empty desk, waiting for something that never came. The realization irritated him more than he wanted to admit. By mid-morning, Nathan called her into his office. "Miss Martinez, you forgot my coffee." Olivia looked up from her computer with perfectly neutral expression. "The coffee machine in the break room is functioning properly, Mr. Blackwell. Help yourself." He blinked, genuinely surprised. In 2 years, she had never responded to him like this. "That is not part of your duties?" "Actually, according to Section 4 of my job description, personal beverage service is not listed among my responsibilities. I have been doing it as a courtesy, which I no longer feel inclined to extend." Nathan opened his mouth to argue, but found himself without words. She was right. Technically, completely right. And the cool professionalism in her voice left no room for debate. The days that followed established a new pattern. Olivia performed her job with flawless efficiency, but without any of the warmth or personal touches that had made his life easier. No reminders about his mother's birthday, no rescheduling of appointments when he ran late, no staying after hours to help with last-minute presentations. She worked her contracted hours and left exactly on time. It was driving Nathan insane. "What is happening with Blackwell?" Jessica whispered to Olivia during lunch on Thursday. "He has been walking around like a lost puppy all week." "He is getting exactly what he paid for," Olivia replied, taking a bite of her salad. "A competent assistant who fulfills her contractual obligations. Nothing more, nothing less. He keeps staring at your desk." "Not my problem." But it was affecting Nathan more than Olivia realized. For 2 years, he had taken her presence for granted, her competence, her ability to anticipate his needs, patience with his terrible moods. Now that it was gone, he felt the absence like a missing limb. Friday afternoon brought an unexpected test. Richard Chen, a charming businessman who owned a competing real estate firm, arrived for a scheduled meeting. He was handsome, in an easy, approachable way that contrasted sharply with Nathan's intensity. "You must be Olivia," Richard said, taking her hand with genuine warmth. "Nathan mentioned he has the best assistant in the industry." Now I see he was underselling the truth. Olivia felt herself smile naturally for the first time all week. "Thank you, Mr. Chen. That is very kind. Please call me Richard." He held her hand a moment longer than necessary. "I would love to take you to dinner sometime. Get your insights on the industry from someone who actually keeps things running." Before Olivia could respond, Nathan's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Miss Martinez's time outside office hours is not available for client consultations. Any questions about our projects should be directed to me." The The possessive edge in his tone made Olivia raise her eyebrows. Richard noticed it too, a knowing smile playing at his lips. "My apologies," Richard said smoothly. "I will be sure to direct all my questions appropriately." After Richard left, Nathan called Olivia into his office. He stood by the window, his back rigid with tension. "Cannot accept dinner invitations from clients.
Actually,
What I do outside office hours is not covered by my employment contract," Olivia replied evenly. "Unless you would like to add a social restriction clause and compensate me accordingly." Nathan turned to face her, and something blazed in his gray eyes that she could not quite identify. "This is about professional boundaries. No, this is about control. You want to control every aspect of my life, including who I have dinner with on my own time." Olivia crossed her arms. "Yesterday you told me I was incompetent in front of investors. Today you seem concerned that I might be too valuable to share. Which is it, Mr. Blackwell?" "I never said you were incompetent. You implied it repeatedly, for 2 years." She held his gaze steadily. "But the moment someone else shows interest, suddenly I am worth protecting. The hypocrisy is astounding." Nathan was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. "You are the only assistant who has lasted more than 6 months working for me." "What an honor," Olivia said dryly. "You anticipate what I need before I ask. You fix my mistakes without making me feel incompetent. You stand up to me when everyone else is afraid." He moved closer to his desk, gripping its edge. "Do you know how rare that is? Then perhaps you should have treated me better." "You are right."
8.
The admission seemed to cost him something. "I have been terrible to you, and I am asking you to stay. Not because of the contract, but because I cannot run this company without you." Olivia studied him carefully. This was the most honest he had been in 2 years, but words were easy. Actions mattered more. "1 month," she said finally. "Give me 1 month where you treat me with respect. No public humiliations, no blaming me for other people's mistakes, no explosive temper tantrums. Treat me like a human being instead of a verbal punching bag. And if I do, then I will consider staying. If you cannot manage it, I walk away and we figure out the penalty fee together." Nathan nodded slowly. "What else?" "Triple my salary during this trial month. If you truly value my work as much as you claim, prove it." She expected him to balk at the amount, but instead, he opened his desk drawer and pulled out his checkbook. He wrote quickly, tore off the check, and handed it to her. Olivia looked at the amount and felt her breath catch. It was not just 1 month's salary, tripled. It was $50,000. "What is this?" "Your freedom," Nathan said quietly. "That is the penalty fee. If after 1 month you still want to leave, the money is yours. No strings, no contracts, no obligations. But I am asking you to give me 30 days to prove I can be better." Olivia stared at the check, then at him. This was not what she expected. The money meant she could leave any time she wanted. So why did she suddenly feel uncertain about taking it? "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because keeping you here against your will makes me the villain in this story. And maybe I am tired of being the villain." Nathan met her eyes with an intensity that made her heart skip. "Maybe I want to be someone worth staying for." Olivia carefully folded the check and put it in her pocket. 1 month, Mr. Blackwell, starting Monday. And I will be watching every move you make. I would expect nothing less, Miss Martinez." As she left his office, Olivia felt something shift between them. The dynamic had changed, the power balance had equalized. For the first time since she started working here, she felt like his equal rather than his subordinate. Monday arrived with surprising changes. Nathan was already in the office when Olivia arrived, and there were 2 coffee cups on her desk. One was her favorite cappuccino with extra cinnamon from the expensive shop 3 blocks away.
Oh.
"Good morning, Miss Martinez," Nathan said from his doorway. "I thought we could start the week right." Olivia picked up the coffee, inhaling the familiar aroma. "Thank you." It was a small gesture, but it was a start. The weeks that followed were a revelation. Nathan made genuine efforts to control his temper, to communicate respectfully, to acknowledge her contributions publicly. When he slipped into old patterns, which happened occasionally, Olivia would simply look at him and say, "Strike 1 or strike 2. He would stop, apologize, and correct himself. The transformation was not just in his behavior. Olivia found herself noticing things about Nathan she had never seen before. The way his eyes softened when he talked about his late father who had built this company. The quiet donations he made to charities, never seeking recognition. The genuine care he showed for longtime employees facing hardships under the demanding boss. There was a man who had been hurt and had built walls so high that nobody could reach him. But slowly, carefully, those walls were coming down. 3 weeks into their agreement, they worked late on a major proposal. The office was empty. Just the two of them surrounded by documents and coffee cups. "Tell me something," Olivia said during a break. "Why are you really so difficult to work for?" Nathan was quiet for a moment, staring at the city lights visible through the window. 3 years ago, I was engaged. Her name was Rebecca Stone. We were together for 4 years. Planning a future. Olivia set down her pen, sensing he needed to tell this story. 2 weeks before the wedding, I discovered she had been embezzling from the company. Not small amounts either. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she was not alone. My business partner, my best friend since college, was helping her. His voice was flat, emotionless. They planned to drain my accounts and disappear together. Nathan, I am so sorry. After that, I built walls. I pushed people away before they could hurt me. It was easier to be feared than to be vulnerable. He finally looked at her. And then you walked into my life. You challenged me, stood up to me, saw through all my defenses. It terrified me. Why? Because I started caring what you thought of me, started wanting to be better. And that kind of vulnerability after Rebecca felt like walking into traffic blindfolded. Olivia moved closer to where he stood. I am not Rebecca. I would never betray you like that. I know. Logically, I know that. But fear is not always logical. They stood there in the quiet office, the space between them charged with unspoken feelings. Nathan reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she did not, he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Olivia, I need to tell you something. What? This past month has been the best of my life. Not because business is good, but because you are here. Because I get to see you smile. Because working with you does not feel like work anymore. Her heart was racing now. Nathan, I am falling in love with you. Maybe I have been for a while and was too stubborn to admit it. His hand cupped her cheek gently. And I know it complicates everything, but I cannot keep pretending I do not feel this way. Olivia should have been cautious. She should have remembered the power imbalance, the professional complications, the risk of getting hurt. But looking into his eyes, seeing the genuine vulnerability there, all her careful defenses crumbled. I feel it too, she whispered. I have been trying not to, but I do. Nathan smiled, a real smile that transformed his usually serious face. Can I kiss you? Yes. When their lips met, it felt like everything clicked into place. This was what had been building between them for 2 years, hidden under layers of professional distance and defensive behavior. Now, finally, it was real. The next morning, Olivia woke up with Nathan's words still echoing in her mind. She arrived at the office with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. What happened now? How did they navigate this new territory? Nathan was already there, and when their eyes met across the office, his smile was warm and genuine. But before they could speak privately, the day swept them into meetings and deadlines. It was not until lunch that they found a moment alone. Nathan closed his office door and turned to her. We need to talk about this, he said. I know. I do not want to hide what I feel for you. I do not want to pretend we are just boss and assistant anymore. He moved closer. But I also do not want to put you in an uncomfortable position or make you feel pressured. Olivia considered carefully. If we do this, if we try to make this relationship work, it has to be real, public. I will not be your secret. Nathan frowned. People will talk. They will say terrible things about you, that you are with me for money, that you slept your way to the top. Let them talk. I know the truth, and so do you. That is all that matters. I want to protect you from that ugliness. Then protect me by standing beside me, not by hiding me. Olivia took his hands. I spent 2 years being invisible to you. I will not spend more years being invisible to the world. Nathan struggled with this. She could see the fear in his eyes, the instinct to control the narrative, to shield both of them from judgment. but she also saw him fighting against those instincts. "You are braver than I am," he said finally. "No, I just know what I am worth. And I am worth being loved openly, not secretly." He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "Give me a few days to figure out how to do this right. I promise I will not hide you. I just want to do it properly." What does properly mean? You will see. 3 days later, Nathan called an all-staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the main conference room, curious and slightly nervous. These meetings were rare and usually meant significant company announcements. Nathan stood at the front, and Olivia noticed his hands were shaking slightly. He was nervous, truly nervous, which was oddly endearing. "Thank you all for coming," Nathan began. "I have some things I need to say, and I need to say them publicly." Jessica caught Olivia's eye with a questioning look. Olivia shrugged, equally confused. "For the past 3 years, I have been a difficult person to work for. I have been demanding, harsh, and often unfair. Many of you have suffered because of my inability to manage my own emotions properly." He paused. "I apologize for that, truly." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the room. But one person suffered more than anyone else. "Olivia Martinez endured 2 years of my worst behavior. And instead of quitting like she should have, she challenged me to be better. She refused to accept my excuses or enable my bad habits." Olivia felt her cheeks flush as everyone turned to look at her. Olivia is not just an exceptional assistant. She is brilliant, creative, and has been instrumental in every major success this company has achieved in the past 2 years. Most of you probably do not know that she redesigned our entire client management system, that she personally negotiated 3 of our biggest contracts, that she has saved this company from countless disasters I nearly caused. Nathan's eyes found hers across the room. And somewhere along the way, while she was busy making me a better person and this company better, I fell completely in love with her. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I know some of you will have opinions about this. Some of you might think she has been using me, or that I am using her. But the truth is simple. Olivia Martinez is the most genuine person I have ever met. She never wanted anything from me except respect, which I failed to give her for far too long. He walked across the room until he stood directly in front of her. So I am standing here, in front of all of you, asking Olivia to be not just my girlfriend, but my partner in every sense of the word. I am offering her 25% ownership in Blackwell Properties. Not because of our relationship, but because she has earned it 10 times over. Olivia felt tears streaming down her face. This was more than she expected, more than she dared hope for. "I do not deserve her," Nathan continued, his voice thick with emotion. "But I am going to spend every day trying to become someone who does. And anyone who has a problem with our relationship, or who treats Olivia with anything less than the respect she deserves, can deal with me directly." The protective edge in his voice made several people shift uncomfortably. But Olivia saw genuine support on most faces. Jessica was openly crying, and even some of the tougher male colleagues looked moved. Nathan turned back to Olivia. "So what do you say? Will you take a chance on me? On us?" She should have felt pressured by the public setting, but instead she felt freed by it. He had laid himself bare in front of everyone, risking his pride and his carefully maintained image. That took more courage than she had given him credit for. "Yes," Olivia said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I have conditions." A nervous laugh rippled through the room. Of course she had conditions. "First, I want equal say in all major business decisions. Not as your assistant, as your partner." Agreed. "Second, if you ever revert to your old behavior, if you ever humiliate me or anyone else on the staff, I walk away with my shares and you face the consequences. Fair. Third, you have to come to my mother's house for dinner this Sunday. She has been asking to meet you for months, and I have been too embarrassed to bring you because of how you treated me." Nathan smiled softly. "I would be honored. What should I bring?" "Just yourself, and maybe flowers. She loves gardenias." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Olivia's eyes widened. "I know it is too soon for this," Nathan said, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "But I want you to have it anyway. Not as an engagement ring yet, but as a promise. A promise that I will be worthy of you, that I will treat you the way you deserve, that I will love you with everything I have." He slipped the ring onto her right hand, not her left. A promise, not a demand. "When we are both ready, when you feel certain that I am the man you want to spend your life with, I will ask you properly. And I will get down on one knee, and I will beg if I have to. But for now, this is my promise to you." Olivia looked at the ring, then at him, then at all the faces watching them with varying degrees of emotion. This was real. This was happening. "I love you too," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Even though you are impossible and stubborn, and you still have a lot of work to do on your communication skills." Nathan laughed, a genuine, joyful sound that she had never heard from him before. "I will work on it every day." He kissed her then, in front of everyone, and the room erupted in applause. Jessica was whooping loudly, and even the usually reserved accounting department joined in the celebration. When they finally pulled apart, Nathan addressed the staff one more time. "Everyone gets the rest of the day off. Paid. Go celebrate, go enjoy the sunshine, go do whatever makes you happy. Olivia and I have taught me that life is too short to spend all of it working." As people began filing out, many stopped to congratulate them. Some offered genuine support, others were clearly reserving judgment, but nobody was openly hostile. It was more than Olivia had hoped for. Jessica was the last to approach, grabbing Olivia in a fierce hug. "I cannot believe you did it. You actually tamed the beast." "I did not tame him," Olivia corrected. "I just helped him remember how to be human." After everyone left, Nathan and Olivia stood alone in the conference room. The magnitude of what just happened settled over them. "Cannot believe you did that," Olivia said. "I told you I would not hide you. That was not just not hiding. That was announcing it from the rooftops." Nathan pulled her close. "You deserve to be announced from rooftops. You deserve everything, Olivia. And I am going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know that." 6 months later, Olivia stood in front of a mirror in a beautiful wedding boutique. The dress she wore was elegant without being ostentatious, exactly her style. Jessica stood beside her, tears already streaming down her face. "You look perfect," Jessica said. "Ah, I feel perfect," Olivia admitted. "Is that strange? I feel like everything in my life led to this moment." Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. "Cannot wait to see you. Counting the minutes." She smiled. They had waited 6 months to get engaged officially. Wanting to make sure their relationship was solid outside the intensity of their workplace transformation, they had fought, made up, learned each other's patterns and quirks. They had introduced each other to their families, weathered gossip and speculation, built a genuine partnership both personally and professionally. Blackwell Properties, now officially Blackwell and Martinez Properties, had flourished under their joint leadership. Olivia brought innovation and empathy, while Nathan provided vision and determination. Together they were unstoppable. "You know," Jessica said, "I never thought I would see the day when Nathan Blackwell became an actual human being with feelings. He always had feelings. He just did not know how to express them without hurting people. And you taught him? We taught each other. I learned to stand up for myself, to know my worth. He learned to be vulnerable, to trust people again. It was not one-sided. The wedding was small and intimate, held in a garden with their closest friends and family. When Nathan saw Olivia walking down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears. This man who had been so cold and controlled for so long wore his heart completely exposed now. "You are so beautiful," he whispered when she reached him. "You are not so bad yourself." The ceremony was simple, their vows personal and heartfelt. Nathan promised to cherish her, respect her, and never take her for granted. Olivia promised to challenge him, support him, love him through all his imperfections. When the officiant pronounced them married, Nathan kissed her like she was the most precious thing in the world, because to him, she was at the reception. Nathan gave a toast that left few dry eyes in the room. 3 years ago, I was a miserable person running a company and calling it a life. I pushed people away, built walls so high nobody could reach me, and convinced myself that was strength. Then Olivia walked into my office and refused to accept my nonsense. She saw through every defense, called me out on every bad behavior, somehow still found something worth loving underneath all that damage. He looked at his bride with undisguised adoration. Olivia, you did not save me. You've taught me how to save myself. You showed me that vulnerability is not weakness, that love is not a trap, that letting someone in does not mean losing yourself. You are my partner, my equal, my best friend, and now my wife. And I promise you, for the rest of our lives, I will be worthy of the faith you placed in me. Olivia stood and kissed him, not caring about protocol or tradition. You already are worthy. You just had to believe it yourself. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Olivia reflected on the journey that brought them here. From the day she tried to resign to this moment in his arms, it had been messy and complicated, and absolutely worth it. Nathan asked, holding her close. I am thinking about how I wanted to throw my coffee at you so many times. He laughed. Why did you not? Because even when I hated you, I saw glimpses of who you could be. And I wanted to see if you would become that person, did I? You became better than I imagined. She rested her head on his shoulder. You became someone who fights his demons every day, who admits when he is wrong, who loves with everything he has. You became the man I always hoped you could be. Nathan tightened his arms around her. I love you, Olivia Blackwell. Love you too. Even though you are still impossible sometimes. Only sometimes. I am being generous. They laughed together, spinning slowly under the fairy lights while their guests watched with smiles. It was not a perfect love story. It was better than perfect. It was real, hard-won, and built on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine growth. Years later, when people asked how they met, Olivia always smiled and said, he was my terrible boss who would not let me quit. Best, worst decision of my life. And Nathan would add, she was the assistant who refused to tolerate my behavior. Best person who ever happened to me? 'Cause their story was not about a powerful man and his employee. It was about two imperfect people who challenged each other to be better, who learned that love means growing together, and who discovered that sometimes the person who drives you craziest is the one you cannot imagine living without. In the end, Nathan had been right about one thing. He could not let Olivia go. Not because of a contract or a penalty fee, but because letting her go would have meant letting go of the best part of himself, the part that she helped him find. And Olivia, who had once counted the minutes until she could escape, now could not imagine being anywhere else. Because this was not just a job or a relationship. This was home. They built an empire together, raised a family together, and grew old together. And through it all, Olivia never let Nathan forget where they started, keeping that burned resignation letter framed in their home office as a reminder that sometimes the best things in life come from the moments when we are brave enough to demand better. For ourselves and from others, their story was proof that people can change, that love can heal old wounds, and that the right person does not complete you, but challenges you to become complete yourself. And as for the $50,000 check Nathan gave Olivia that day, she never cashed it. Instead, she framed it next to the burned letter, both symbols of the moment when everything changed. The moment when a terrible boss became a better man, an undervalued assistant became his equal partner in every way that mattered. That was their story. Not perfect, but perfectly theirs. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit like, share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.